Welcome back, sleuths, suspects, and witnesses. This is day 21 of the mystery of the missing manuscript, which is now turned into the case of the assassinated author. We are having a great time. If you haven't had a chance to watch the replays and you missed some stuff, go back and watch them. Binge watch them. It'll be amusing. And at the same time, you'll get to really enjoy some great stories from extraordinary authors in our indie author community. That, for me, is just a really cool part of what we do here. I'm going to try to keep to a nightly schedule. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't, but I come pretty close most nights. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to try and help you stay to an hour so you can go and, watch Netflix or whatever it is you need to do, read a good book. Okay. Tonight, we have author readings from Amy Klco, and unfortunately, Tayden Gray could not be with us tonight. So Andrew Allen Smith is going to step in and help me because I completely forgot that I had a brand new book out just like 10 days ago. And I didn't get it on the schedule. So Andrew's going to help me read that tonight because I'm doing enough talking and he's a good guy. So he likes to help. So tonight we're going to start with Amy Klco. Yay! Amy, can you hold up your book pretty, please?
I can, and I can even hold it wherever because I don't have the weird background. So here is the book that I'm doing tonight. It is called
It Takes a Forest
to Raise a Tree, if you want to get the detail. Yes.
Yes.
And I am actually going to screen share my screen.
Oh, wait, I got to do that, don't I? Hold on. I forgot to do that.
I knew that. That's okay.
I forgot to do
While she's doing that, though, I'm going to give you just a little bit of background. The story it's called an autobiography as retold by Amy Klco. So this actually, I just told the story. Actually, it was told to me through the trees. It is a story about a tree. It goes from the beginning of its life as a seed all the way through its life. And one of the things in it, it learns that it can communicate to other things through the fungal network. And so as it's growing, it starts talking to everything around it. And that's where we're going to kind of be in the middle of the book, but I wanted you to get this part. So
okay, so you should be able to share your screen now, Miss Amy.
Okay, let's do this.
Try it, see if it works. Technology.
Okay, look, you should see a cover of my book on here. Okay.
Yay!
Okay, so here we go. What is the most important thing you have learned in life became my mantra. The question I would ask everyone I met. Trees, birds, animals, insects, flowers. I was eager for knowledge, and they in turn all seemed eager to share what I knew. Again, this is a tree talking, just so you know. Okay. By this time, Mama had told me that it was impolite to ask such direct questions. If someone wanted to share their wisdom, it was up to them when and how they would share. I listened to what Mama said, but I didn't heed her advice. I knew that in this case, she was wrong. I knew because every time I asked someone, "What have you learned?" they instantly stood a bit straighter. They felt better about themselves. They felt proud, not offended, that someone wanted to know what they had to share. It didn't matter who I asked. Every one of them wanted to be heard, and I wanted to hear. Everyone I asked had a different answer, and everyone was profound. Enjoy the moment, the Trillium told me, and be beautiful. Life doesn't last long, but if you can attract the bees and butterflies, you will live on in your offspring. Always plan ahead, said a squirrel who crossed my path one day. Winter is coming. Winter is always coming. Reach for the sky, the ivy told me, as it slowly twisted around a nearby tree. Keep climbing up any way you can. So many pretty flowers, a bee told me as it went buzzing past. So little time. You want to find the worm? The robin asked me. And although I had no personal desire for worms, I didn't say so to him. It's not about being early. It's about being vigilant, always on the lookout. You want to feed yourself? You want to feed your family? You must always be looking. My aunts and uncles, the other maples that surrounded me and Mama, all told pretty much the same thing. Be wise and grow straight so that you can live a long life. It's not about how long you get to live. It's all about how long you get to live. So many of those around me, I thought to myself, are living for the first purpose, survival. But there has to be more than that. The butterfly told a different story. I was once just a caterpillar, slowly making my way through life at the speed of a crawl. It was just crawl to a leaf, eat from it, crawl to the next one, day after day. And then one day, out of nowhere, something inside made me stop and make a cocoon. I did it, although I had no idea why. I covered myself up from the tip of my head to my very last legs, walling myself away from the world. Were you scared? I asked her. Very, the butterfly confessed. I was in that dark place for so long, and I was falling apart, literally. At one point, I was only a bit of goo with just enough of a mind to remember who I was. Yes, it was scary. She paused for a moment, as if remembering that time. I had no idea what to expect, she continued. I just had to trust that the voice inside me knew what it was doing. And did it? I asked. So caught up in the story, I forgot that I already knew the answer. Well, what do you think? She asked, as she opened and closed her wings several times to show them off. They were beautiful, all orange and black with millions of tiny spots of white. Your wings are lovely, I confessed. But it's not about how they look, is it? I asked her. It's about what they can do. You are a wise tree for one so young, she told me, and I felt proud. I was, in fact, much older than her if you went by numbers of days that we'd been alive. But of course, life isn't measured by days. It's about where you are in your own life's journey. Everything in the forest has its own timing, and I knew very well that this butterfly was my elder. What does it feel like, I asked next, to fly wherever you want? It's glorious, she finally replied. The freedom. I can't explain it to someone who's never felt flight. There is one hard part, though, to being a butterfly, she confessed. I miss having caterpillars as friends. The ones I see now from time to time don't recognize me as kin. She paused for a moment and then added, I feel joy for them too. I know now what they will be. Once they face their fears and listen to their hearts, they will fly. And yet, she added, I can't explain this to them. We no longer speak the same language. All I can do is watch while they figure it out for themselves. So there's just a little sampling of the book.
How absolutely fantastic. Oh my gosh. Oh, so good. Thank you. Because I was looking for the technology to fix that. So thank you. That was a great story. Oh my gosh. So lovely. It's a great book. If you guys haven't read it, you really should. And I gotta say again, I love hearing people read their own stories. There's an extra special something. But tonight, I'm gonna let Andrew read a story for me, which for me is very special because I get to hear how somebody else interprets my work. So that's going to be super fun. So tonight, Andrew Allen Smith is going to be reading from my book, which is now 10 days old. There. I can't do it. A Duck Echoes. This is a second collection of short stories read by Drake, my duck muse, and typed by me because fingers and flippers, they just work differently on a keyboard. So, Andrew, when you are ready, sir, I would be honored if you would read my story.
Why, thank you. I'll be Diana tonight. No, maybe not. It's a fun book, so if you get a chance. This particular story is called Everything That's Cute. 24 children between 5 and 7 years old and 4 adults. What could possibly go wrong? The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. I never thought I could enjoy a song less than Baby Shark, but here it was, in surround sound, volume on stun, in various octaves. The drive from the school to the zoo was only 8 miles. Still, I think I heard that chorus at least 12 dozen times because repetition, evidently, is the foundation of entertainment. In fact, I didn't realize it actually was a chorus until I found myself surrounded by tiny people who clearly understood the vast complexity of juvenile music more than I did. It turns out there are about 10 different stanzas in between each chorus. Who knew? When thankfully the wheels of the bus stopped, an entirely different experience awaited. With squeals of joy, best friends for life grabbed hands and escaped the confines of seats to the adventures of the parking lot. When asked to form two lines, one by one, they balanced precariously upon a thin yellow parking line that led to the entrance gate. They jumped with kangaroo precision over the vast 6-inch blacktop expanses between each line. The adults flanked the children, reinforcing the goal of avoiding the tar. Sometimes you have to play the game that's already started if you want to win without tears. A sallow march of tiny feet proceeded through the gate, a gag order firmly in place lest the offenders become invisibly shackled to the closest adult for the remainder of the trip. I was mesmerized by the instant compliance when threatening fun hung in the balance. In my extremely limited experience, bribery worked, but this was far more effective. I wondered if it would have the same impact in the boardroom. After a moment of reflection, I decided to abandon the idea. Punishing an unruly executive by velcroing them to me for the duration of an already interminable meeting felt a lot more like punishing me than punishing them. Once inside the gated community, we created breakout groups and headed in various directions with a promise to meet at the train station at the back of the park in 2 hours. 2 hours? I doubted I could last that long without my ever-present triple shot espresso, but I'd give it the old college try. As the minions surrounded me, I distributed colorful, informative maps, which instantly became origami projects for nimble fingers. What had I gotten myself into? Over the course of the next 2 hours, tiny yet remarkably loud voices giggled, screamed, howled, crowed, trumpeted, and quacked as we walked, waddled, slithered, trotted, and mimicked flight through the Arctic tundra, the humid rainforest, the dry desert expanses, and deepest, darkest jungles. A few paces ahead of our small group, I noticed a couple with the foresight of magicians. Their toddler walked happily in front wearing a monkey backpack, which was surreptitiously convenient at the end of a leash. The man held it deftly in his hand, not a bit of tension on the cord, nor his face, as his companion smiled broadly. I envied them. I envied them a lot. My small band, what were we now? Flamingos? Met up with another of our troop as, together, they counted the total number of humps. They shrieked with delight when they realized, with their far more adept adult humor, that it was indeed Wednesday. The comedian shot a glance at me, giggling to herself. I returned a weak smile, trying hard to feign amused composure. The rigors of a hostile takeover did not prepare me for this degree of overwhelm from a deluge of silliness in the sunshine. I was doomed. When at last we arrived at the train station and combined our tiny bands of adrenaline bunnies, a sigh of relief washed over me as I slumped into a nearby bench. The seasoned educator, the maestro of mayhem, took over once again. Appearing no worse for the wear, the power she wielded over the mob was beyond impressive. She commanded instant silence and total attention by simply raising one gentle hand into the air. The effect was hypnotic and a little scary. The children stood in a line, 2 by 2, and talked quietly. The adults, except for the comedian from our camel encounter, stood near their groups, using the metal-lined stanchions as crutches to our aching bodies and muddled brains. We spoke not a word, but shared our misery in silence. The comedian laughed affably with the scholar, both clearly veterans of the field trip circuit. The trip back to the front of the park was a welcome respite for my body, if not my ears. Tiny voices are accelerated when traveling at speeds faster than they can walk. The echo through every tunnel with the resonance of dynamite in a coal mine. How I longed for the annoying bedlam of office cubicles and telephones that never stopped ringing. At least these sounds I could process into something that led to tangible reasons to endure them, namely, several extra digits after the comma at the end of my bank balance. This was pandemonium without reason. Why would anyone choose this? Before the bus ride back to normalcy, our final bus stop was the Mercantile of Memories, where itty-bitty hands moving faster than New York City bicycle messengers touched everything within reach and miraculously broke absolutely nothing. Each teensy-weensy negotiator worked hard to secure the deal from their teacher, who was endowed with a budget that allowed for equal distribution of funds among the throng. To my amazement, not one child was left disappointed. That was a trick I needed to learn. The title, World's Favorite Uncle, may be distinguished, but it does not prepare one for the unknown exploits of chaperoning a field trip. As I slouched in my seat, listening to the 16th chorus of This Is the Song That Never Ends, I looked at my nephew, a minuscule copy of my brother, and asked him, "Why did you get the river otter?" He looked at me with gigantic blue eyes, completely relaxed after this day of pure elation, and gently placed the slender stuffy on my lap. Everything that's cute is better. I smiled at the wisdom of his words. He would get no argument from me.
Yay! Thank you, Andrew. Thank you so much for reading that for me as my pitch hitter tonight. So that was Everything That's Cute from A Duck Echoes. And
Dun, dun, dun.
just in case you're wondering, in nature, ducks don't really echo, but I thought it was fun. Okay.
And you're right. I should have done it in Diana's voice.
No, you shouldn't have. I'm so glad you did it in Andrew's voice. Okay. No, for those of you who are wondering, I do not know how to fold origami, so
She says.
don't look at
she
me.
says.
I'm not a suspect. I'm just the narrator of this madness.
She's been here the whole time, every night. She's been here. How can she not be a suspect?
We learned from Georgia the
I
Jungle
will
that you can
remind
fight
everyone
with the
that the
narrator.
ninja stereotype of wearing all black comes from the prop people, the set people that were all in black, and and then one of them killed somebody. So a narrator being the actual, it's
Well,
I
okay.
know. Oh no,
Okay, so-
it's not. No, there is
so
historical
Mark-
precedence for this.
Okay. So
storytelling.
Mark Love said last night that nobody confessed but me. So right now, I'll give you a confession. I was in professional theater for 15 years as a stage manager and lighting director, and I do know how to move quietly in dark spaces. So that's all I'm gonna confess. That's it.
Well, that's a start.
That's the end of my confession. So here we go. Let's move on to the madness tonight. The case of the assassinated author. For those of you who are just joining us, Andrew Allen Smith stole the sardonic manuscript. He was then assassinated. We are now trying to figure out who the culprit is. Why did they do the deed? We have many people to choose from. I am not one of them. Chloe Holliday, who unfortunately could not be here this evening, Melinda Falgo, Ruby Fink, Christopher Gare, although he claims to be a detective, you never know. Amy Kelso, Jules Nelson, Marianne Wieland, and Deborah Reed. Last night, if you were not in the room, what we discovered was everybody had a confession. There were liaisons made and broken. There were secrets kept and shared. Now we have 6 days to find Andrew's murderer. Who did it? We gave a lot of information out in the room last night. Tonight, we are simply opening up the room once again for questions. If anybody has questions, please let me know and you will be allowed to speak. Turn on your microphones. Let's do this thing. Ruby, go ahead.
Well, oh, I didn't have my hand up. I'm sorry.
Okay, I thought you did.
Sorry.
All right. Okay. So, in the chat, you did say, why don't we
Well,
start with?
Why
who
don't we
wouldn't
start
do
with
it?
who wouldn't do it? It'd be easier, and I said agreed.
Okay.
So if we want to go through everyone,
Well, we
actually-
don't know who didn't do it. That was the whole point of the confessions last night. Everybody had a reason.
everyone had a reason, but some of them reasons to murder.
Um,
Oh boy.
it's so interesting having a ghost in the room. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions for our pool of suspects? Mark Love, go right ahead.
I'm having a hard time keeping a straight face, but I'll do my
Me
best.
too.
With Ruby, who confessed that her psychic abilities, she admitted last night, are basically non-existent. So where did you come up with the idea of the 246 as far as a page in the book? If this was something you hadn't seen before, or were you just playing like the losing lottery numbers, or what?
I said I'm not very good, but I still had the vision. So it just doesn't work in order to find all the answers you guys need.
Yeah, a likely story.
That's
Okay.
a little vague.
It's a
Yeah,
lot.
well, so's my backstory and my character. So
Okay, next time.
sorry.
You write
Sorry.
Be careful what you wish for there. You may be drafted for the next version. So.
That's right.
Or she'll just murder me. I mean,
Well, everything's possible, right?
yeah. I'm
I know.
sorry.
I do know how to lurk in the shadows. Anybody else have questions? Mark, you have another follow-up?
Yeah, I had one for Melinda too. The language that this sardonic manuscript is written in, how were you able to translate this or interpret this on your own?
Well, if you remember way back when we first started all this madness, I mentioned that I had to do a lot of research on the computers. And that was when Chloe and our intrepid reporter, Deborah Reed, were kind of lurking around seeing what I was doing. And I think that that's part of why they got on the trail of the sardonic manuscript.
I remember you did mention you were using, what was it, Babelfish and Google Translate?
Something like that, yes.
Something like that, yeah.
And that was when everything got really loud and chaotic in my library. I remember that for sure too.
Absolutely. Anybody else have questions for our group? For those of you who are wondering, and again, Mark, I can't overstate this enough. It was hard enough for me as the Friends of the Library president to do the research and find the spell that would bring Andrew back just for that one question last night. You have no idea the strain on my spiritual being to do that. Magic is not an easy thing. Mysticism is even harder. So
Is it possible to do the spell backwards and make him go away?
Don't think we're that lucky. I mean,
I think we'd have to call the Beatles to find that out for sure. Does anybody else have any questions? Any queries, any quandaries, anything?
Nobody?
Really? We spewed a lot of information. Christopher, go ahead.
This is probably just a point of clarification, but Amy, you
yes.
had mentioned you were carrying on in the grand tradition of your grandmother.
Yes. Which is interesting because I seem to recall now something about somebody else's grandmother, and I'm trying to remember who that was.
That was
Mary's
Mary Ann.
grandmother was
Grandmother,
also a
yeah.
librarian.
Mary Ann's grandmother.
Did you both share a grandmother?
I don't know. Mary Ann,
Sounds
do you
right.
know that?
There's
I do not know the answer to that, but
Should be
I may
twin
have to
sisters
do
of
some
different
research in the geology section myself, maybe in English this time, and see if we're related. Be interesting.
I think it would
That
be
would be
interesting to
interesting.
discover if Melinda came across the maiden or married names, even either of both Mary Ann's and Amy's grandmothers when she was doing research for the manuscript. That would be interesting.
I think
Melinda?
Gary's comment.
Does that sound like anything that you know of already?
Melinda, does it have you found anything like that yet?
I like Gary's suggestion in the chat.
I missed it. Go ahead.
Maybe Andrew was the father of both.
Wait, what?
Andrew does have great ability. We never know.
Presumably, Marianne and Amy know the names of their grandmothers.
Oh, there's an interesting idea.
You know, I'm gonna have to
And
go back.
what is the name of your grandmothers?
I don't remember my grandmother, which is I should. I always called her grandma. So I will have to check with my mother and see if she can remember what my grandmother's actual name was and what her maiden name was. Because I sadly don't know that, but I'll find out.
Plausible. That
I don't
doesn't
know,
seem very plausible for a librarian.
I called her grandma. I haven't thought of her in years. She passed away a long time ago.
I grew up my whole life calling my grandmother Grammy. So it's possible. I didn't learn my grandmother's name until I was an adult. And then I found
Is
out she had a
Amy an
real
adult?
name.
Is
I
Amy?
would think so,
yeah,
but I haven't had a need to research it yet. There was never
And
any.
she has been very busy, meddling in other people's lives. She
Right.
doesn't really have a lot of time to work
Taking
on her
care
own.
of
Marianne,
everybody.
do you know the name of your grandmother?
Well, I said the other night it was Desdemona Smythe. She
There you go. So Amy, that's a name that maybe you want to research.
Desdemona.
Smythe, Smith,
What's the last name?
yeah, Smythe,
Smythe.
Desdemona Smythe.
Yeah, you're right, Melinda. It's too close. Really, the coinkydink is very, very close there. Anybody else have any questions?
I actually do have a question now.
Yes.
I might have written this down wrong, but from the confessions, Deb learned how to do origami, but Chloe was also stealing stuff. So 2 separate thefts. I'm sorry. I'm looking through my notes and I was writing down stuff really fast.
As
so I
as
just want to
I
clarify.
recall, there was a theft from an auction sometime
Yep.
back, and several things were taken, including a Gutenberg Bible that Deborah knows very well about that story because she wrote about it, right, Deborah?
And the pocket watch.
Yes, I did.
So and you have been following some of these other thefts as well, right? Have you found any other deeper connections to the book?
To that book, no. I mean, well, the interesting thing about the Gutenberg Bible was I think it had actually been stolen before the auction, and so they just said that it had been removed by the person who was selling it, and then I found out later that it had been stolen, and that's why they were, covering themselves by saying, hey, it was, or the seller removed it instead of, and just changed their mind. And so so I thought that was kind of interesting, and yeah, I learned about all the
thought it
other
was
ones.
interesting who your source was about that theft.
Christopher?
Yeah.
Yeah. Funny.
Yeah.
Hey, all I could say on that subject is that Deb and I are like the original dynamic duo. We are like Lucy and Ethel, Bonnie and Clyde, Kibbles and Bits. That's us.
Tom and Jerry. I don't know.
Tom and Jerry. Yeah, that works.
I've got a question for
One's always
Christopher.
trying to kill the other. Oh, okay, got it. Yeah.
Marin Hooch. Yeah. Which one of you is the kibble? That's the interesting question.
A
All
question for
right.
Christopher. How much was the Gutenberg Bible worth?
2.4 million.
Ooh. The watch that Chloe stole, if I
Yes.
remember correctly, she said was 23 point something million.
Yes. Yes, the watch was actually valued greater than the Bible, which I found interesting when I did the research. I asked Christopher for the police report on that incident, and I found it was very interesting that the Bible was so valued so low that a pocket watch would be more
It's
than it.
interesting that the conversation has revolved all along around the Bible, with the watch only becoming apparent last night, and that efforts were
Yeah.
made to conceal that theft. And that was really the biggest theft.
Yes,
The most valuable
and
theft.
that just goes to show you how sneaky Chloe can be, because as a professional thief, she's been under our noses the whole time and we didn't know it. Melinda, go ahead.
Well, I just find it very curious. I mean, Ms. Kelso has been giving me such grief this whole time when I read a very interesting article in all of my research about a similar situation that took place at the Carnegie library, where over a period of time, a librarian who worked at that library, who had been entrusted with the care of all of those wonderfully expensive and important manuscripts, managed to steal over $8 million worth of important works. Now, I'm just curious, if one librarian can do it, couldn't another?
Well, here's the
Could
bigger
they?
question. The bigger question is, we now know librarians have a history of stealing things. Could they go as far as committing murder?
Okay, now here I have to point out that could I steal books? Of course I could, because I'm very smart and obviously I could handle that. The question is, would I? And obviously the answer is no. Why would I do anything to mess up my precious library and keep the books from the people where they belong instead of taking them and hiding them at home like you were going to try to do, Melinda? I want them for everybody. So no, I would not steal any books, and definitely no, I would not kill somebody, especially in a library where it makes a mess of my library.
Would anybody put it past her to steal enough to make enough money to build her own library?
Oh, that's an
just steal it to
interesting
get it back.
idea.
I
What was
mean,
that,
no, I would not do that.
Mark, go ahead.
I have a question that getting away from the theft and getting back to the murder.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm just
Mhm.
kind of curious now, Christopher, that you've identified the source or actually identified the poison. Has there been any research into the cafe to see if perhaps traces of this cyanide, what was it, cyanide sulfate was
Potassium?
Sodium cyanide.
sodium cyanide? Okay, I knew cyanide was in there somewhere with the almonds, but has there been any search into the cafeteria or the cafe to find traces of that?
I have not received any reports yet from the investigators.
Is there any possibility that this can be traced as to where the source of this could have come from originally? Could it come from something in Mary Ann's background, or perhaps in Melinda's?
Sadly, I have no information on that at this time.
Worth a shot.
Marianne, I'm curious, how many different kinds of spices that you have in your cafe come from foreign countries? There are a lot of them. Could the poison have come in through one of those shipping outlets?
Well, all my spice shipments do come from the country of Colombia. I strictly, since I do have investments down there, everything is imported from Colombia, and I import a wide range of spices.
Okay, so yeah, they come
yeah.
across the border, so anything's possible. You know, we've already discovered that our undercover officer has questionable liaisons with the media, so maybe he knows somebody in customs.
You know, Colombia, there's nothing drug related ever about Colombia.
Never.
Wait, what?
Never.
Just coffee, right?
So, anybody else have questions? I just also want to draw your attention to the fact that Jules is not here this evening, and she was trying to replace Amy, and she discovered a cache of jewels connected to the book. So has she skipped town? Will she skip town? Is it possible?
Her position come open and maybe I could have, I mean, that would be awful if she did that. Yes.
Yeah, it'd be terrible if she turned up missing somewhere.
Maybe she's the next victim.
Mm,
Oh, I sure hope not. That would make a mess of Amy's library.
yes.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? We have about 1 minute left. Anything?
Mark McGraw?
Nothing. Okay,
McGraw.
Mark McCraw, go ahead.
Okay, so Melinda, did you get upset that Andrew was trying to take the book out of the library that you were so very excited and interested in?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know he had the book.
Mm,
We didn't know that he had the book until after he was already dead.
Well,
But my
somebody
understanding is you,
knew he had the book because somebody
Yeah.
killed him.
my understanding was you guys were all standing around with coffee, so you knew he had the book.
It was
Wow.
wrapped in his dust jacket, so we couldn't see that it was the book.
Ah,
Although,
okay.
if somebody were really looking for that book, somebody who knew it well and had been researching it for a long time, they
Like
would
maybe
notice,
for a newspaper article.
or to find out about their own heritage or something, they might
But
have
to make
noticed
sure that the books were
side of the
shelved correctly.
pages- They may have
Especially if,
noticed that his pages were, different because it was so old. So if
especially
someone was
how
really
valuable,
looking for the book, they might have noticed that.
especially how valuable it was.
Exactly. Anyone interested in money for the book, anybody of those people could have
Those
noticed.
people.
Of those people could have noticed.
But,
that
but you were,
Andrew
but
had
you,
it, but
but you were with them, Amy. You were near them.
I
Oh.
wasn't worried about it wasn't me. Just leave it at that. I wasn't looking at that.
About 50% of people voted for Andrew to be the thief.
They
So
did.
there were a lot of people who were convinced he was the thief.
Mm-hmm.
That
That's
very
true.
day that we discovered him murdered.
That's true.
Exactly. It wasn't just one or two people who suspected, it was lots of them. And if you take a look back at the replays, you'll notice that a good number of our suspects were also pointing the finger at Andrew. So were they pointing the finger at Andrew to point their finger away from themselves?
Could be.
And that's where we're going to close for tonight. Thank you all so much for playing our game. Make sure you go back and watch the replay from last night so that you can catch up on all the details and come back with even more questions again tomorrow. Remember, we have several suspects that could have done the deed, but we don't know who it is.
So I do have to throw in real quick if I got a sec, because Mackenzie made a comment in the chat that I don't want to bring up, but just to be nice, I will.
Okay.
She said that because I wanted Miss Nelson's job, what better way to become a library director than to start my own librry? But
It's
obviously,
a good point. It is.
I don't think it's right at all. And you guys are totally off. But I had to bring it up just to be fair.
Well, yeah, I understand. It is important to have every voice heard as often as possible. So who did it?
Except in the library, no voices heard.
Texting
So
them.
are you telling me tomorrow we have to whisper through the whole thing?
Yes.
Yeah. So who did it? Ask your questions, collect clues, sling your accusations, and we're giving away real life prizes, you guys. Really fun, super amazing prizes. We're giving away books and ebooks and Amazon gift cards. We're going to have tremendous fun. So we have 6 days remaining in the madness. Come on back and help us figure it out. We are also doing a scavenger hunt every day this month. Brand new riddles. As you noticed, one of our authors was unavailable to attend tonight, and my book was read in its stead. So if you're playing our scavenger hunt game, you've just got a free pass on one of the riddles. So now if you don't answer one of the riddles, which happens to be on the book that was missing tonight, you'll get that extra point anyway. So in essence, everybody starts with one right answer. Here is our dead body of fingerprints. More people are gaining more fingerprints, so much so that we now have several authors at the heart of the case. Deborah Reed with 155, Amy Kelso at 147, Andrew Allen Smith also at 147, Chloe Holliday with 107, Ruby Fink at 104, Jen Rinaldi at 101, and Emma Plopa at 100 points even. Yeah. Here's the hand of doom, you guys. Marianne Wieland has 96. Jules Nelson and Christopher Gare are tied with 82. Jennifer Rains has, I'm sorry. And Mark Love, you're also tied for 82. It's hard to read all three of them.
Especially when we're giving you the finger. So
No kidding. Three of you at once. Thanks, guys. Jennifer Rains at 81, Mandy Joe at 78, and Mark McCraw at 75. We have had 507 pairs of eyes in our festival so far this month. 6 more days left, guys. Call more people. Tell them to come play. There's our witness ledger. So far, that's how many witnesses we've had in the room each night. And we're going to give away books on the spinning wheel of happiness in just a moment. Tonight's books will be Amy's book, It Takes a Forest, ta-da! And mine, which is A Duck Quacks. I'm sorry, A Duck Echoes. And just for fun, because I appreciate all of you so much, whoever wins the spinning wheel tonight will also get a bonus copy of A Duck Quacks. So you'll get both copies of my
for the price of none.
short stories. So special night tonight for that. And now we're gonna ask the question of the night, which I always find, I think it's my favorite part of the night because it's a chance for me to get to know everybody a little bit better and have a little bit of fun. Tonight's question is very simple, although it might not be for some of you, and I concede that fact. I want to know what it is you are all reading right now. What's the book that you're reading right now? If you're reading more than one, tell me you're reading more than one. If you can pull all the titles up. Andrew, if there's somebody like Andrew who's reading more than 4, just give me the first 4. So Mark McCraw, what are you reading right now?
Actually, I was reading my own book to my daughter and son-in-law. So
okay,
that's
awesome.
and with my granddaughter sitting next to me. So
Cool. Katie Spina, what are you reading right now? What's on your TBR current?
Kitco and the Mechas from Space.
Say that
It's
again, we missed you.
delightful space opera.
Okay, start again because it missed the first part. What's the full title?
August Kitco and the Mechas from Space.
And do you know who the author is?
By Alex White.
Awesome. Mark Love, what are you reading right now?
I'm in the middle of The Cold Nowhere by Brian Freeman. Pretty good mystery.
Snazzy. Marianne Wieland, what are you reading right now?
I am reading Adam by Andrew Allen Smith.
Good book, isn't it?
Yes.
I really like it.
Are you scared yet?
Not yet.
Deborah Harris, what are you reading right now?
Hummingbirds Know Where to Fly by E.C. Roderick.
Okay. Diana Durrell, what are you reading?
Sophie's Lies by Julian Season and Healing is a Choice. 10 Decisions That Will Transform Your Life by Stephen Arterburn.
Very cool. I love people who read more than one at a time. Lynn Mason, what are you reading right now? Thank you. Thank you for keeping it family friendly. I appreciate that. Okay. Ruby Fink, what are you reading right now?
So I'm listening to the audiobook of Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones, Dakota Ring Theater, written by Greg Taylor. And then I've got a whole bunch of web novels I'm also reading. I recently finished, well, I got to a new chapter because they uploaded it. So I'm the Queen in This Life, Marry My Husband, and the Duke's Cursed Charm. So
very cool.
Lots of stuff.
Gabriel, what are you reading right now?
I'm reading Ascendant by Michael R. Miller, and then I'm also doing the audiobook of Spare by Prince Harry.
Cool. Melinda, what are you reading? Oh, you have to turn on your microphone, my dear.
I'm reading about 4 different ones right now. I'm doing Abby's Pony Love, which is a children's book by Susan Court. Silver Hollow, which is a fantasy by Jennifer Silverwood. We Come with Vengeance, which is a steampunk fantasy by H.G. Murley. And then I'm reading a nonfiction, Scripting the Life You Want by Royce Kristen.
So cool. Oh my gosh. TBR lists tell us so much about people. I just love it. Deborah Reed, what are you reading?
Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune.
Fun. Preeti, what are you reading right now?
I'm listening to Becoming by Michelle Obama.
Okay. Gary Floyd, what are you reading, sir?
I'm actually reading a hockey book right now from the 1970s, which covers the Bruins, the Flyers, and the Canadiens, and I'm between the Bruins and the Flyers.
Very fun. Watch for flying pucks. Jennifer Rains, what are you reading right now?
An Australian author called Emily Brito, who's won some awards here, a book called Wild Abandon, which is actually, I've got mixed feelings about it. It's a young man trying to discover himself.
Very cool. Jen Rinaldi, what are you reading?
I'm listening to the Alliance series by Brenda K. Davis, and I'm reading Taken by Dragons, A Beauty and the Beast retelling by Jessica Grayson.
Okay. Mandy Jo, what are you reading? Nice. Thank you for keeping it family friendly. Andrew, what are you reading, sir?
Hold on.
I know there are
I'm
lots.
adding to my to be read. To be readed. I'm reading. Rereading collected works of Khalil Gibran, new Jean Davis. She's indie author in Michigan. Everyone Dies. Kind of a little bit scary short stories. The Reefs of Earth by Mary Lafferty. I'm up to You, so I've gotten through all of the others in Sue Grafton's book. So that was a lot. A new book by an author I met in Frankenmuth. All the Ways You Never Loved Me, and I've gotten about halfway through that. I'm almost finished with Fluke, and that was a fluke. The Math and Myth of Coincidence, which is mostly math. And if you ever shop at Ollie's, I've been going through this a little bit at a time, Country, Wisdom, and Lore. I should have all these finished the next couple days and move on to the next stack. So
I again,
makes it a lot of fun.
You fascinate me. You write, you read, it's crazy. The speed at which you travel is mind-boggling.
It's lots of fun. And now you're adding all these other books that I have to read, Taken by Dragons. And
yeah, lots. Jennifer Wilcock, what are you reading right now?
I'm reading a young adult book called This Time It's Real.
Awesome.
By Anne Liang.
Very cool. Christopher, what are you reading?
Called Taking Shape 2, the Lost Halloween sequels.
Very fun.
Say it again.
Say it again for Andrew.
Oh, Taking Shape 2, the Lost Halloween sequels.
Got it. Thank you. Missed that one.
Deb McPeak, what are you reading?
Tears and Laughter by Susie Meager.
Okay, awesome. Mackenzie, would you
was
please?
My sister.
Oh, very cool. Writers in the family.
Yeah, she passed away though.
Okay. But I love it when we find more authors that we didn't know about. Super fun. Mackenzie, would you put yours in the chat, pretty please? Dana Starino, what are you reading right now?
I am reading Flip Turns by Kathryn Arguelles. I don't know if I'm saying that right or not, but it's a really good MG story.
Very cool. Mackenzie, she's reading 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole on Kindle, and Undead by whom? Can you see that?
May McCulcum, Kindle.
Okay.
I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reed, Kindle. The
That's
Masked
an awesome
City
book.
by
Yeah.
Guinevere Cogman, Kindle. Shadow and Bones by Leah Bardot, physical, and like 3 other physical books I can't remember. If the book group is any help this week, I'll be reading The Disaster Called Ruth Taylor by Miss Reed, of course. And my
Awesome.
sister's new book, she's almost done writing.
Yay! And Amy, what are you reading?
Well, I happen to be reading right now this great book called Silent Screams 4, put out by H.G. Evans, who we all know as our intrepid reporter, Deborah Reed. So that's the one I'm working on right now.
Yay! And I am reading, I'm just finishing up Not Another Bard's Tale by Jean Davis in our author community. Funny as all get out. If you've never seen Sheep Curtsy, this is a book you need to read. I just started reading Submerged Hopes, and that's by Chloe Holiday. She just sent me that, and I am working my way through this amazing book. This has got to be my most favorite thing that I've read in forever. It's called 2150, and it's by Thea Alexander, and this was a recommendation from Andrew Smith. This is probably the most incredible book I've read since Jonathan Livingston Seagull hit me when I was a teenager. It's that cool. So thank you, Andrew, for recommending it. It's so cool. All right. So now we have even more books to add to our TBRs. Again, another great thing I love about this community is there's never a lack for something to read. If you're ever at a point where you're not sure, just ask one of us. We'll be more than happy to share our list with you. Okay, we are now going to spin the spinny wheel of happiness. Please, oh please, tell me you can see it.
Yep.
Okay, we're good. Let me make sure I turn the sound on because that's something I forget sometimes. There we go. It is turned on. Okay, so the first book we're going to give away is Amy's book, which is It Takes a Forest. And then we're going to spin the wheel and give away Drake's 2 short story collections, A Duck Quacks and A Duck Echoes. So here we go for Amy's book.
So I may be giving my book to my cousin. Is that? I don't know.
We'll
Their
figure all that.
grandmothers and I don't know.
Yeah. Would it be cousins? Okay. Okay, here we go. Giving away Drake's books. And just full disclosure, Jennifer, I have never mailed anything to Australia. I promise you I will do my best. All right. Thank you, everybody, for your super amazing, incredible fun tonight. This was a blast. I'm so glad you guys are sticking with it through to the end. Anybody in the room have anything to say before we go? Any last comments?
I'm hungry, Mommy. Really, I am.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything to add before we go? No? Okay, we're good then. We are signing off for tonight. Have a glorious evening, everybody.
Bye,
Check
everybody.
in again tomorrow when we play again. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye.